So now we're starting video number 3 of chapter 4, and we're going to talk about what we call a withholding allowance. Now don't be confused. This allowance doesn't take away from your employee's earnings. But what we do is we have the employee fill out a W-4. And I'm going to show that to you. And the W-4 tells the employer how to withhold from them. Okay? How to withhold FIT. And an employer, you as an employer, cannot tell your employee how to fill it out. Whatever they fill out and hand it to you, as long as everything's filled out the way everything's filled in, then you must accept it, and it's good for 4 years after that. So the first thing, and I'm just going to go ahead and go straight to it. Here's a W-4. So if you guys have ever had a job, you have filled one of these out. You're going to fill information in here. You can check any one of these boxes. Now, you can actually check single or married filing separately, even if you are not that scenario, because this really is about how you want things to withhold. Okay? And so we're going to go down here. You complete this step. This is step 2 if you have multiple jobs or your spouse works. Because what they're looking at, actually the W-4 has changed tremendously in the last 2 years. It used to be very easy. But if you are a single person and you have one job, then you should not even be filling out step 2. If you're married and your spouse does not work and you work, you should not be filling out step 2. Only if you have multiple jobs and your spouse works if you're married. And now here's step 3 where you claim dependents. Now, so this withholding that we're talking about here, this allowance, this is just letting your employer know, or you as the employer, you're knowing how to withhold FIT for this particular employee. Okay? And if they want extra money withheld, they're going to put it here. Okay? Here's the instructions on filling this out. Now, you have heard that you can claim exempt from any FIT, but you can only do it if you had 2 conditions and you had to meet both of them. You can only do it if you had no income tax liability last year and you don't expect any this year. A tax liability is when you owe money. Okay? So if you didn't owe any money, and by the way, when I say tax liability, you not owing money, it basically means that you didn't have anything withheld and you didn't have to send anything to the government. Because if you have a job and you had tax money withheld, but at the end of the year you got a portion of it back, then you did have a tax liability. Okay? So you want to be really, really careful about claiming exempt. Because if you get to the end of the year and you find out that you do have a tax liability and you claimed exempt, you could actually be penalized for claiming that. Okay, and then we're going to talk about some other situations on the W-4, but I'm not going to go into them. An employee can change the W-4 as many times in a year as they want to. Okay, but they need to put a new effective date each time they do it. And if if they were paid after the date or before the date, they can't go back and go backwards, but going forward from that effective date. Okay, so again, they can do it as many times as they want to. And here's some more other situations. So I don't want to go over all of this in detail. So this concludes video number 3. I want to make sure, right? Video number 3 from chapter 4, withholding allowances.